And we're still commemorating World Press Freedom Day. Interesting theme for the day, shaping a future of rights, freedom of expression as a driver for all other human rights. And I'll take you live now to the Accra International Press Center, where the Ghana Journalists Association are commemorating the day, and former GJA President Gifty Afenyi-Dansey currently addressing.
From the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The local theme for this year's World Press Freedom Day is freedom of expression, a driver for all other human rights for Ghana's development. Obviously, this has been derived from the global theme. Freedom of expression has never been the preserve of the media. It is the oxygen driving democratic societies. No wonder the first issue tackled under Article 21 of the 1992 Constitution, that has been subtitled General Fundamental Freedoms, is freedom of speech and expression. For instance, the peaceful coexistence of religious groups is anchored in the right of citizens to express themselves in a way they find appropriate to express their beliefs. The Kumi Preko, Fix the Country, Arise Ghana demonstrations, Let My Vote Count, and the picketing by individual bondholders are all underpinned by freedom of expression, even if particularized as freedom of assembly. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the freedom of speech on our radio stations and the numerous newspaper publications bear testimony to the fact that Ghana is making tangible progress in democratic governance. The progress in the field of freedom of expression notwithstanding, I believe there are areas involving the media that require a more sober reflection. The media has been given a responsibility by the 1992 Constitution of the Republic to demand accountability. Article 162, Clause 5 is explicit that the mass media shall uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people of Ghana. One shining example in agenda setting and the demand for accountability has been the work of the Media Coalition on Illegal Mining, or Galamsey, which was launched in April 2017. The media played and is still playing its role in raising concern about the dangers of Galamsey, which threaten our existence as a people. Subsequent development has shown that the beneficiaries of Galamsey are very powerful and will not easily give up, irrespective of the danger to our water bodies and environment. On this occasion, it is relevant to remind ourselves that based on the happenings we know now, the agenda to stop Galamsey should be treated as a major existential threat that should go beyond the coalition that first highlighted the menace. I believe all media houses should continually highlight the challenges until the menace is brought to a minimum. Already, all of us are paying far more for water because of the pollution suffered by our water bodies and the increasing cost to the water company in treating the water for our homes and industries. In terms of our developmental challenges, it is my expectation that the Ghanaian media shall develop a strong interest in economic management of our dear nation and demand answers to nagging issues including corruption and incompetence, which have the potential to roll back our advancement as a country. A major drain on the country's finances is the performance, or rather non-performance, of some of our state-owned enterprises. Instead of contributing to the nation's revenue, a high number of such enterprises continue to incur huge losses that are invariably borne by the taxpayer. Colleagues, according to the 2022 State Ownership Report released recently by the Ministry of Finance, state-owned enterprises recorded a 2.6 billion cedi loss in 2020. As a country, we need a frank conversation on the performance of our state-owned enterprises to really understand what the issues are and the best way forward. Still on the management of the economy, we need to reflect also upon the mandate of Parliament in holding the executive to account. My candid opinion is that Parliament, while doing well in some areas of their mandate, has not been able, for whatever reasons, to effectively play its role as a countervailing force to the executive. A stronger collaboration between Parliament and the media would be a healthy way of keeping the executive on its toes, especially in between elections. Noble colleagues, in examining the constitutional provisions on freedom, one comes across the phrase, subject to the rights of others and the national interest. This is relevant to our national discourse. The heat is already building up towards the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. The peace of our dear nation needs to be safeguarded. And one of the surest ways to plunge a country into chaos is inflammatory language. The media should play its gatekeeping role so well that decency shall become paramount in the conduct of people that seek the mandate of the electorate to rule. Ladies and gentlemen, I am convinced that media owners need seriously to reflect on the acquisition of delayed broadcast equipment to help see the contributions of those who call in to programs to make one contribution or the other, as well as a panelist who goes overboard to throw a bomb. One other organ that could help sanitize the political campaign environment is the GJ Ethics and Disciplinary Council, which is mandated to promote high journalistic standards among members of the association and the performance of their duties, enforce the GJA Code of Ethics, and investigate allegations of unprofessional conduct and ethical breaches of the association. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, increasingly, social media has assumed prominence and high patronage in Ghana, a challenge that goes beyond the GJA and which must be of paramount interest to all of us. And that is, how do we deal with the excesses of social media, especially in approaching the election year? It is true that most ideas generated in the public space are about sport, culture, fashion, gossip, and commerce, etc. But we know for a fact, however, that in an election season, many more will use social media to articulate their views on politics. We do not need new laws to regulate social media, but the GJA, working with all the relevant stakeholders, can monitor the public sphere and promote key ethical considerations for reflection. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is said that an unexamined life is not worth living. And I want to give a special charge to the GJA to reflect on the conduct of our members in recent years and to deal with potential breaches that could spark election violence. God has been so merciful to us as a nation in the 8 general elections held so far in the dispensation of the Fourth Republic. We must not assume that we would continue to have peaceful elections without a proactive and conscious determination by all the critical players, such as political parties, candidates, media, civil society organizations, the police, the Electoral Commission, and other institutions. And we want to say that all actors must not only be fair, but also to be seen as fair by all interested parties. As I conclude, I want to say that excessive politicization by the media is a real threat to our democracy, as it also leads to a downplay of the media's demand for accountability from all political parties. The distinguished author Salman Rushdie has said that 2 things form the bedrock of any open society. Freedom of expression and the rule of law. If you do not have these things, you do not have a free country. As we celebrate our day, World Press Freedom Day, may it be said that the Ghanaian media contributed to the consolidation of press freedom and freedom of expression in the nation. I entreat you all to cooperate with me and all the distinguished personalities gathered here today for a successful program. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. Long live GJ. Thank you.
A round of applause for her, Mrs. Gifty Afeni-Dansey. Thank you very much for that. Food for thought cannot be said enough. We need this country as peaceful as possible, even as we have a free airwaves to do anything and everything, from politics to sports to entertainment. We still have the democracy to protect. Thank you very much, Mrs. Gifty Afeni-Dansey. Another round of applause for her. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Your Excellencies, he is a determined young man with a conviction to change the dynamics of the Ghana Journalists Association in Ghana. He is owner, founder, and managing editor of the Daily Analyst and the Business Analyst. He is also the Group Corporate Affairs Director of Tobinco Group of Companies. His dream is to leave a legacy for the Ghana Journalists Association. Let's welcome the dynamic President and General of the Ghana Journalists Association, Mr. Albert Jumfo. A round of applause for him. Thank you very much, Mr. Albert Jumfo, for his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, hardworking Rebecca Epe. Madam Chairperson, my mother, Honorable Gifty Afeni-Dansey, Mr. Mauli Sebefia, Director of Policy and Programs at the Ministry of Information, representing the Minister of Information, His Lordship, Justice Dennis Dominic Ejeyi, the Chairman of the National Media Commission, Mr. Yabuedu Ayebuafo, Mr. Abdulmani Diallo, UNESCO representative to Ghana, Her Excellency Grace Janet Mason, South Africa Ambassador to Ghana, Diplomat Virginia Elliott, Public Affairs Counselor, representing Her Excellency Virginia E. Palmer, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Charles Abani, UN Country Coordinator, representative of the head of EU delegation to Ghana, Mr. Ato Afo, Managing Director, Graphic Communication Group, my good brother, Professor Eric Opoku Mensah, Rector, UDMAC GIJ, ADB representatives here, Giba Print Park Executive Secretaries and Senior Journalists present, heads of media institutions, editors, media colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this year's World Press Freedom Day. I am sincerely grateful to all of you for making time to grace today's event with your presence. As many of us here may be aware, World Press Freedom Day, which is marked May 3rd every year, is a special occasion designated by UNESCO to spread awareness regarding the role media plays in our daily lives and society. Madam Chairperson, it is worth noting that the 2023 World Press Freedom Day in Ghana is being organized solely by the Ghana Journalists Association with assistance from the Ghana Police Service and ADB. Following the advice from our long-term partner, UNESCO, to fish on our own. We would like to thank UNESCO for teaching us to fish. Self-dependence is very essential. The global team for World Press Freedom Day 2023 is shaping a future of right, freedom of expression as a driver for all other human rights. Notably, this team coincides with the 30th anniversary of both World Press Freedom Day and the Vienna Conference Declaration and Program of Action for Human Rights. The theme for Ghana's celebration, which is not too distinct from the global theme, is freedom of expression, a driver for all human rights for Ghana's development. Regarding the development of the nation, Madam Chairperson, the right to free expression is of the utmost importance, and all measures must be taken to ensure that it is not infringed upon in any way. Madam Chairperson, the GJ, along with Media Foundation for West Africa, GIBA, and PRIMPAC, recently urged the government to amend certain provisions of the Electronic Communications Act and the Criminal Code, specifically Section 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1960 at 29. As critical stakeholders in the media industry, we cannot remain unconcerned as these laws are used to arrest citizens and journalists and prefer criminal charges over civil remedies for press and speech offences that are merely defamatory. The arbitrary application of these laws only serves to instill fear in the general populace. One of our colleagues, Noah Nati Dame of Radio Ada, was recently detained for 7 days on false publication charges due to these bad laws. And this has affected our 2023 World Press Freedom Index, our ranking on 2023 World Press Freedom Index. Ghana has moved from 60 to 62. Ghana has moved from 60 to 62. Let's take notes. 2 backwards. As the umbrella body of journalists in this country, Madam Chairperson, we will continue to ensure that any action or law that seeks to stifle free expression fails. Madam Chairperson, to ensure that free speech is always protected, it is essential that journalists who are the vanguards of free speech receive all the support they require to carry out their duties without hindrance or compromise. This is why, under the current administration, the GJ has established the Journalist Support Fund, GSF. The fund will provide legal services to journalists whose rights have been violated while performing their duties. It will also assist in providing training and seminars on safety and security to our members to improve their safety and security. The fund will also be used to support or cushion retirees, so some may refer to it as Retirees Support Fund. Since the inception of this fund several months ago, Madam Chairperson, it is crucial to know that so many privileged individuals and corporate institutions have shown interest. Some individuals and organizations have made substantial contributions to the fund. In the coming weeks, the GJ will inaugurate the See Something, Say Something initiative. This initiative is distinct from that of the Ministry of National Security and aims to encourage citizens to volunteer information about individuals who plan to attack or have already attacked journalists. We believe that this will substantially contribute to the reduction of journalistic assaults. It will also empower citizens at the local level to ensure accountability and transparency. Madam Chairperson, being proactive is essential if we are to protect the right to free expression. And I must say that the GJ has been very proactive in recent years with regard to defending this right. We also caution media outlets when necessary. All of us are witnesses to how we managed Radio Ada versus the Ada Traditional Council when a reporter from that station was banned from participating in activities. The GJ held a press conference to condemn the council's actions and pointed out that they lacked authority to prohibit a journalist. A similar situation involving Oyedepo Radio and the Kumasi Traditional Council, Menchia, was promptly resolved. We are not suggesting that journalists are beyond reproach or that we are flawless. No, as stated previously, there are several remedies available to those who believe they have been treated unjustly by the media, and they can always utilize them. As captured in this year's WordPress Freedom Team, the preservation of free expression has a trickle-down effect. When freedom of speech is jealously guarded, there will be no fear or panic, because people will go about their duties without looking over their shoulders. Our democracy will prosper further if individuals can freely express their opinions. I must state that the GJ, together with its media stakeholders, has initiated processes to engage the President of Ghana, who is known in his private life as a human rights activist and advocate of press freedom, and the Attorney General, as far as repealing the obnoxious laws which stifle free speech is concerned. I'm talking about the Electronic Communications Act and the Criminal Code, specifically Section 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, 1960, Act 29. Madam Chairperson, on this day, we cannot forget Ahmed Swali. Over 4 years after his gruesome murder, we continue to seek justice for him by putting pressure on the authorities concerned to up their game. Quite recently, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice disclosed that the docket on Ahmed Swali had not reached his office, considering the fact that his office has prosecutorial powers. The President also assured us at our dinner night last year, that's last December, that he is going to see to the closure of this case and ensure that perpetrators are brought to face the full rigor of the law. As an association, we will continue putting pressure on the police to conclude the investigation on the matter and submit the docket to the AG for necessary action. Let's come together as journalists and fight hard for a more liberated society. It is also essential to note, Madam Chairperson, that the celebration of WordPress Freedom Day next year will coincide with the GJ's 75th anniversary as an organization. We intend to organize significant activities to commemorate both occasions. As the political season approaches, I would like to exhort my media colleagues not to entertain politicians or individuals who will poison the atmosphere with intemperate and provocative remarks. Let's perform our professional roles while keeping the country's peace in mind. Permit me to also use this occasion to warn politicians who have a propensity for abusing journalists or stifling free expression that they will not go scot-free. And once again, they will not go scot-free. We are prepared to safeguard all media professionals as they perform their duties with diligence. Permit me to also finally we commit ourselves to promoting professional standards in the media and urge all journalists and media houses to uphold the highest level of integrity and professionalism. We will not hesitate to call out any journalist or media organization that indulges in flagrant violations of professional ethics and standards. This is in view of the recognition that press freedom, and indeed all other forms of freedom, go with responsibility and the duty to respect public sensibilities, human dignity, and public interest. Madam Chairperson, as I bring my remarks to a close, it is important to reiterate that the celebration of World Press Freedom Day will become an annual charade if state institutions do not commit themselves to changing the narrative and maintaining the right of journalists for once. Once again, I said, Madam Chairman, I repeat that as I bring my remarks to a close, it is important to reiterate that the celebration of World Press Freedom Day will become an annual charade if state institutions do not commit themselves to changing the narrative and maintaining the rights of journalists for once. Like I always say, journalists' lives matter. Journalists' lives matter. Long live GJ, long live World Press Freedom. Thank you for your attention. God bless you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A round of applause for him. Journalists' lives matter. Journalists' lives matter. Let's keep on being circumspect in our reportage, and politicians who go after us will also go after them. Thank you very much, Mr. President Albert Kwabena-Dwumfour, for that inspiring speech. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 30th anniversary celebration of World Press Freedom Day here at the Ghana International Press Center, where Ghana is united with other journalists globally to mark this day, which we call our day. Thank you very much for being here. In a moment, we'll be introducing a few dignitaries who are joined us here. Some of them have already been, but we'll do the needful. Let me remind you that this program is being streamed live on GBC, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Facebook, Ketsi Ghana.
This is JoyNews Desk, and we've been watching that 30th anniversary commemoration of World Press Freedom Day here in Ghana by the Ghana Journalists Association. Well, earlier we heard from Mrs. Gifty Afenyidazi, a former GJA president herself, and with a charge as chairperson for the event today. She's highlighting the challenges of Galamsey, and for her, she wants journalists across the country to continue to focus on the challenges that Galamsey is posing, especially to our water bodies. Also asking us journalists to demand answers to issues, nagging issues in the country. Top for her is corruption and incompetence in our society. Also, issues about our economy, management of our economy. For her, journalists ought to highlight it and put the spotlight on it. And more importantly, as we gear towards 2024 elections, she wants peace, and she wants it to be safeguarded from inflammatory language as well. And journalists must continue to highlight our gatekeeping role to ensure that that does not happen. And also issues about social media being out of control. No new laws needed, but indeed a lot has to be done. And then it's a day of reflection for us members, which we say is our day for journalists in this country. For them, we must continue to conduct our work in, decorum. And the GJA Ethics and Disciplinary Committee must also up their game. And that's for us, a consolidation of press freedom must be done appropriately. That's a Gifty Afenyidazi there speaking earlier. Then you just heard the GJA president, the president of members of the Ghana Journalists Association. Not all journalists actually are members of the Ghana Journalists Association, but a larger population are members of the Ghana Journalists Association. And that's your president who's been speaking a while ago. And for him, arbitrary application of laws by police and state agencies is of concern, and that it appears that the criminal libel law is being smuggled through the back door, and something must be done about this situation. And talking about our sliding in our press freedom rankings, mentioned Noah, for instance, the Radio Ada journalist who was arrested some time ago, issues in Ada that came up, and also highlighting 2024 elections, which is just around the corner, and entreating fellow journalists not to entertain intemperate and provocative language. And for him, journalists' lives matters, and this celebration will be an annual charade if nothing is properly done to safeguard the peace and also the safety of journalists in Ghana. We continue to ask that those who actually murdered Ahmed Swale are caught and then brought to book 4 years down the line.
I usually say, and I've repeated it for all these years, and say that if a man does not speak, you will not know whether he is intelligent or otherwise. When it is only after somebody has spoken that you can decipher from whatever sentiments that he has expressed whether he has the capacity to join in the process that you are dealing with. And so everybody's speech matters, and we must understand that. Now, when we meet at forums like this, we want to emphasize on the right of people to speak, even though we also acknowledge that people have responsibilities, particularly because in the Ghanaian situation, our constitution is a social responsibility kind of constitution that requires under Article 41 that there can be no right without a corresponding obligation. And so it only means that any time that you talk about your right, you must be reminded of your responsibility. Yeah, but at functions like this, we want to stress on the fact that we have rights, and that it is the duty of our government, our people, to facilitate the processes whereby every one of us is able to express our views. Because when we are able to talk freely, we do not build, negative things within our heads. For instance, when we're young, when somebody offends you, and you can speak to that individual and say whatever you want to say, you say it and you offload it. Yeah, but when it was impossible for you to do that, what we used to do sometimes, it will stand somewhere at the corner, take a stone, and when that individual was passing by, throw it at that individual. Because that is a way that you can also retaliate, because you cannot speak to that individual. It means that free speech is very, very significant. We must cherish and value it. We must do everything that gives meaning to the question of our freely expressing ourselves. Because if we freely express ourselves and that degenerates into ethnic cleansing and the mother of all those things, then it means that we did not think about what we said. And so we have a responsibility to weigh the consequences of everything that we speak. But first and foremost, no one should stop us from expressing our views about anything. Now, I want to conclude on this, that, in recent times, a number of cases have come before the National Media Commission. And there's one trend. And the trend is that the excuse of the media, which we do not consider to be justifiable, is the mere fact that you called me and I did not speak does not commit me to a liability or a guilt. And we have a Court of Appeal judge here. Now, Article 19, Clause 10 of the 1982 Constitution expressly states that even when you are standing trial for a criminal offense, you can refuse to answer any question put to you by the judge. And the judge cannot, solely on the basis of the fact that you did not respond, convict you. So our appeal to our media people is this, that we must find better means of verifying our stories and not just basing it on the fact that when you call the person did not respond. If the response of that individual is the only basis why you are convicting that person, if that is the only reason why you are finding that person responsible or liable, then it only means that you are debasing the profession of journalism. You do not seem to understand what you ought to do. Because the maxim in the newsroom when we're there is that whenever that you are in doubt, spike the story. That it is better that you do not carry a wrong story and leave this thing than to carry one single story that is so inaccurate and that is not a reflection of the reality. So I want to leave you that let us fight for our freedom. Let us fight for the fact that we can express our views anywhere at any time. And this is not only about journalists. It is about every Ghanaian. We say that the life of the journalist matter. Yes, but I can tell you that the life of the journalist will matter better if the journalists consider the life of all other Ghanaians as also worthy of recognition. And that if we recognize that other Ghanaians matter, they will boost us. And they will create a better environment for our recognition so that we will receive double portions whatever other people are getting. That is a responsibility that we must bear. And we should not fight for ourselves. We should fight for the people of this country. If there are any policies that are not good against the people of Ghana, including journalists, we must not narrow it as if it is a fight for journalists. We must fight it as a fight for every Ghanaian. That way, we will be recognized, and we will not be an appendage, but we will be part of the history of our country. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for him. Thank you very much, National Commission Chairman, Mr. Yao Wedu Ayeboafo. Shall we welcome to the podium Mr. Abdul Rahman Diallo. Mr. Abdul Rahman Diallo, he is representing UNESCO. Thank you very much, Mr. Diallo.
Thank you very much. I thought that you know my name very, very well. No, this is my privilege to be here for the fifth celebration, the fifth consecutive celebration of World Press Freedom Day in this place. So, Madam Chairman, all protocol observed, dear participants, it's a great pleasure to be with you on the occasion of this celebration of World Press Freedom Day. We have to thank, and it's not taken for granted, we are all gathered here today, and all stakeholders are representative from the government, the right entities, the partners, and of course, beyond, and the most important, they are the practitioners, the media people. This is your day. This is your day. Thank you for all what you're doing every day. A huge medase to all of you for your work. Thank you. This is your day. This day is a reminder of the essential role that free and independent media play in our societies. Press freedom is a cornerstone of democracy and human rights. It's the foundation of a free, fair, and open society, and an essential condition for the protection and promotion of the right to freedom of expression. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the proclamation of the World Press Freedom Day, which was adopted by the 48th UN General Assembly following UNESCO's recommendation. This 30th anniversary, which is being marked in New York this year, for the main celebration and the proclamation of the World Press Freedom Day and the international commitment to press freedom. Over the course of the last 3 decades, the global movement celebrating World Press Freedom Day has grown in scale and provided an inclusive platform to reaffirm the fundamental role of free, independent, pluralistic media, to take stock of the challenges facing media freedom and the safety of journalists, to raise awareness and foster partnerships to defend media from attacks, as well as to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives in the exercise of their work. Yes, today we remember Ahmed Hussein Swaleh. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to share a brief contribution of what Africa gave to the World Press Freedom Day. And we must remember the concept of press freedom originated in Africa, in Windhoek, in Namibia in 1991. And it's an opportunity to pay tribute and to recognize the contributions of Ghanaians, such as Mrs. Adjoa Yeboah Afari. She was one of the key stakeholders at this conference in 1991. Then we had the Dakar Declaration in 2005, the Maputo Declaration 2008, the 2018 Declaration of Accra Declaration, where we celebrated the World Press Freedom Day, and most recently the 2019 Addis Ababa Declaration on Journalism and Election in Times of Disinformation. Finally, World Press Freedom Day returned to Windhoek, plus 30 in 2021 on information, as a public good. It pays tribute to those who opened the path to help secure information as a public good. UNESCO and the UN system here in Ghana will continue to support freedom, access to information, and safety of journalists through capacity building of duty bearers and the rights holders. And one of our lead trainers in Africa on international legal standard on freedom of expression, access on information, and safety of journalists will deliver on this year's theme, shaping a future of rights, freedom of expression as a driver for all other human rights. And we have recently published the media development indicators of the country, which guides the assessment of the media ecosystem and also help stakeholders appreciate the state of Ghana's media development. Justice Denis Dominic Adjei, Justice of the Appeal Court and the African Court, thank you for sharing your expertise and knowledge on freedom of expression and access to information. I would like also to express our profound appreciation to the Minister of Information for their continued support and the numerous civil society organizations for their work in freedom of expression space. Let me conclude by quoting from UNESCO Director General Madame Audrey Azoulay in her message on the occasion of the World Press Freedom Day 2023, which she said, 30 years after the first World Press Freedom Day, we can see how far we have come and how far we still have to go. So let this day be an opportunity to renew our commitment within international organizations to defending journalists and through them press freedom. So on this World Press Freedom Day, let's reaffirm our commitment to defending press freedom and protecting the rights of journalists and media workers. Let's work together to build a more just, equitable, and democratic society where the press is free to report on the issues that matter most without fear of persecution or retaliation. I wish all of us a fruitful World Press Freedom Day. Afishapa to all of you. Medase, you are done. Thank you.
Thank you. Medase, thank you very much, Mr. Diallo, for that. Another round of applause for him. Thank you, Mr. Diallo. Let's remember that Mr. Mauli Segbefia is representing Mr. Kojo Opon Nkrumah, Minister of Information, at this event. Thank you very much, Mr. Segbefia, for being here. We have Betta Desemenu. She's representing the Canadian High Commissioner. If you are here, Betta, thank you very much for joining us. Okay, let me go ahead and welcome to the podium Her Excellency Virginia Elliott, Public Affairs Counselor, U.S. Embassy. Let me also note that Kevin Bosranhan is also here from the U.S. Embassy. Thank you very much, Her Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, Mr. President, please allow me to stand on previous protocols. Good morning. On behalf of Ambassador Palmer and the U.S. Embassy, I'm so pleased to celebrate with you today as we mark the 30th anniversary since the UN Declaration of World Press Freedom. I salute all of our friends in the media who are here today. This 30th anniversary edition is being celebrated around the world. Partners from the media, academia, and civil society are deliberating on the theme, Shaping a Future of Rights, Freedom of Expression as a Driver for All Other Human Rights. Our own Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, will commemorate this important day later when he helps launch the 2023 World Press Freedom Index. A free press is one of the most vital ingredients for any functioning democracy. For this reason, the founding fathers of the United States ensured that freedom of expression was the very first guarantee of our Constitution. It's also why the media are often referred to as the fourth estate. There may be 3 branches of government in democracies like the United States and Ghana, but where would we be if it were not for objective journalists and investigative reporters to hold our elected leaders accountable and who are free to represent a range of viewpoints on behalf of all citizens? A free, vibrant, and independent media is crucial. The U.S. Embassy continues to support media development institutions to build the capacity of Ghanaian journalists in fact-checking, investigative journalism, reporting on people with disabilities, and media literacy programs for young Ghanaians to improve their appetite for news and credible information. The Embassy's grant to the Department of Communications, University of Ghana, in support of its State of the Ghanaian Media report, is one clear example of our ardent commitment to Ghanaian media. Aspects of the report included working conditions in media, media ownership, journalist safety. I recommend it to you as a useful roadmap for guiding our way forward on support to journalists. In 2020, the U.S. Embassy supported the Alliance for Women in Media Africa and the School of Information and Communication Studies, University of Ghana, to launch the status of women in the Ghanaian media. Again, providing evidence for equality and advocacy report. Based on a nationwide study of newsrooms, the report presented an overview of the profile of women in Ghanaian media, including the positions they occupy, career progression opportunities, and challenges and experiences with the issues of harassment and other human rights abuses. The findings in these 2 reports are catalysts for development organizations in the industry, government, academia, and consumers of news to spur improvements. We are currently witnessing a situation where media freedom, freedom of expression, and other human rights are under attack. Journalist safety is a major concern, as was stipulated in the State of Ghanaian Media report. As the report correctly points out, journalists must be protected, just as the public can be protected from misinformation by strong civil liability laws. Journalism provides us all a platform for informed discussion across a range of issues, including governance and corruption, environmental challenges, gender equity, youth engagement, and peace building. Only when journalists are at liberty to monitor, investigate, and criticize policies and actions can good governance exist. Today, we applaud the work of you, Fourth Estate, and your colleagues around the world. Thank you for the important role you are fulfilling to keep people informed. As we mark this 30th anniversary, we call on stakeholders to refocus on freedom of expression as a vital precondition for the enjoyment of all other human rights. As Thomas Jefferson once said, our liberty depends on the freedom of the press, and that cannot be limited without being lost. Thank you.
A round of applause for Her Excellency Virginia Elliott. Thank you very much from the U.S. Embassy. Thank you for that. We'll be taking a brief break. But let me go ahead and introduce the National Executives of the Ghana Journalists Association. Vice President Linda Santier J, if you are here, let's acknowledge you. Dominic Noji, National Organizing Secretary, if you are here. Treasurer Audrey Dekalu.